All right, we are back for day 8. It is the second week of our Vlogmas. We started this 8 days ago. On the first day, I had no idea if I was going to be able to commit to every single day, but here we are. We made it 8 days in a row, keeping it consistent. Doing my best to get at 11:30. I always come in a couple minutes late. I'm just running around. I actually had to move stuff from upstairs and came all the way down here. The internet's a little bit better down here, so just trying to make sure I could make use of that. For those people who don't know, a huge shout out to my neighbor who's hooking me up with internet. I was staying here for about a month before, and then I wasn't going to just get my internet, whatever. And then when I moved back in, I was like, hey, instead of me installing it, could I just like pay you to use your internet too, and then we could just split it. And then he was like, don't worry about it, and just like let me use it for free. So I'm using this internet for free. So if it's ever cutting out, it's not because the provider that I have is bad. It's because it's in the neighbor's place. So huge shout out to him. Thank him for all this like hookup and stuff. I really appreciate it. Yes, so it's been a good day. Just been hanging out. And today we moved a lot of our stuff around. The beds we had to get out to, it's garbage day here in Markham. So we had to get that out to the curb and stuff like that. And just being able to do like menial tasks, I've been finding it like I'm having troubles like not getting frustrated in the task. Like outside of it, I'm like, yes, I'm like feeling clear. The moment's good. And then while I'm doing it and I'm just like moving this giant like bed and stuff, and I'm like getting so frustrated inside, and I'm trying to like figure out how to be able to like still be chill during those moments, instead of just like freaking out inside while I'm having to do that. But I guess like who out there is like, yo, I just feel so much peace when I'm like taking out the garbage. It like feels good. It's like, nah, you're just digging through crap to get to there. But yeah, so it's just like figuring out the constant balance of just being able to like, these are the things that I got to do, and making sure that I'm committing to those things, and just, in those moments to not let myself get overwhelmed or annoyed or pissed off or whatever. And yeah, just being able to try and figure out, keep my mind just kind of chill in that way. But yeah, it's also been good too. I've had some conversations with people, and like setting boundaries has always been a really challenging thing for me. And just letting people know, being like, hey, I'm like really uncomfortable with the situation, or I'm getting overwhelmed in the situation. That's been really great, to be able to set boundaries. I found that like the boundaries are not like a rejection of the other person thing. It's more so like me taking in what it is that I'm able to like process at that time. So just an example of something that happened today. Somebody messaged me because I mentioned just about the CERB and how like they had gotten the CERB, and then they messaged me just like about, oh my gosh, like does this mean that we're gonna have to give this back and all this information? And then I just like was doing my best, but then I got overwhelmed, and I was like, oh my god, I have to like give all this back. And the last couple of days I've already like done my best to not get overwhelmed by that idea of the CERB giving it back. But then they were, kind of talking about it like and feeling really stressed out about it. And then I was like, yo, I just gotta like get out of this conversation right now. I can't like process that without feeling like I'm overwhelmed. And it was good. It was like important for me to be able to just be like, yo, I just got to take a step back from this. So I appreciate that. And it was nice to be able to go back and, I apologized after, just being like, hey, just in case they thought that I was rejecting them in that way, I wanted to make sure that they were understanding of what it was, but it wasn't that I was not apologizing for putting the boundary up. I was apologizing if it came off as if I was like being short with them or whatever. So, but yeah, it was good to circle back, and it just helped give me some time to like reflect on shit. And I always just appreciate that now. Things can become more clear when I just can take a step out of the situation and not get overwhelmed. So I did want to continue a couple of my favorite segments from the last like week or so. One of them is random items that I'm finding in my grandma's closet that so she actually passed in August, and there was a lot of clothes that was like being donated. And so instead of just dumping it all, and I've just been doing this on live, looking through these bags and just seeing the different things. So big shout out to my papa. Absolutely love you. And this is like hopefully to honor you and the wonderful style that you had and the different items that you've been keeping. And we don't want to just get rid of them without like looking through them. So All right, so here we go. Let's see what we got here. So we got random pocket in here. This looks like somebody made. They look like Roots pants, but they actually look like they were like homemade. That's interesting. Look, somebody made. Oh no, they're not homemade. They're GEXE. I have no idea what that is, but there's like a pocket inside, kind of like the Roots ones. All right, that's pretty cool. And if anybody out there wants any of these clothing, let me know. I'll save them for you. Oh, we got some gloves. Got some gloves. It's pretty good. Anybody out there cold? Got some gloves here. What kind of gloves are there? Thinsulate. All right. I always like this name. It's like insulate and thin at the same time. And also maybe thinsulate, like you're late for things. Maybe, I don't know. That one was going too far. Oh, a floofy dress. Let's see what we got here. Definitely someone hated wearing this dress at some point. It's definitely like a little kid's dress. All right. Anybody want to even give that to their kid? That's cool. Let's see what else we got here. Oh wow, this is a new dress that someone bought for $11.97. $11.97, great. And it is. Let's see what's happening here. Okay, it's like a full dress like this. Nice. It's got shoulder pads. It is made by Encore, size 12. Anybody out there want this? Okay, lots of dresses in this one. Okay. This one doesn't look like a dress. This one looks more like a jacket. Okay. We got a jacket here. We got a sequins jacket. It is a sequins winter jacket, I believe. Looks pretty nice. Actually, this one it might actually fit me. Let's see if it fits me, actually. Let's see. Yo, this is pretty solid. I think this is actually a good like winter jacket for me. Not bad. See if it has a hood. Oh, it's got a hood too. Wow. Not a very good hood. It's one of those hoods that like you actually probably wouldn't use it very often unless you needed to. So, all right. So found something for myself to add to the giant piles of hoarderness that I have. All right, let's see what else we got. Oh, I actually remember my Popo wearing this one. No way. Size 14. I think that actually I don't know if she actually wore this. Never mind. I just remember this design though, this pattern on his shirt. But yeah. Okay. And then we got one last. Let's go one last one. Okay. This one keeps calling out to me. No idea if anybody out there likes polka dots. Got a super polka dot dress here. All right. This is like one of the most random segments I've ever done on any of my shows because I never know what's going to happen on it. This is a Saint Anger. I never heard of this brand ever. I think it's backwards for you guys. But Saint Anger. Looks pretty cool though. Polka dot if anybody wants this. All right. So yes, anybody out there who is looking for any of this clothes for the winter months, get in touch with me. Let me know. So yeah, it's been one thing that I've noticed today was really cool was I felt like when I was doing things, I was like very intensely involved with it. And I really liked that, you know, like I like being able to, in the moments, commit to like something that I need to do and then just be like, yo, I'm so zoned in on that, right? Sometimes I feel like I'm doing it and I'm not like actually excited to do it. So for me, that's not like how I want to approach things. I want to approach things and be like, yo, this is exciting to me. I want to do this. One thing that has been getting me really excited is on Sunday, we're doing the Streamathon. So we're raising money for the Red Door family shelter. And so that's been really exciting, prepping for that, getting people like all involved with it, excited about that, figuring out how they're able to, you know, make some more money for it. Our goal is $2,000 to raise for them from the Streamathon. So from the auction that we're running, on 32 auctions, it's actually going to be, you know, there's so many different random stuff, but people donated so much stuff. When you tell them it's for charity, the way that they approach it is so different. Like we have people who donated like different clothing items. We have someone who donated like a skull candle, gift cards. We have like classes for yoga. We got like so many amazing things. And it's just so great that people are taking the, I guess like, it's not just their money even. It's like their effort and their energy to like be able to sponsor this. And that's the type of stuff that really gets me excited now, the community energy of it. And there's something special when you pair community with art together. So what ends up happening is that people end up focusing, I believe, like a lot more on growth and on like being able to see what it is that they're able to give, instead of thinking about it on the other side where it's like, what can I get from this, you know? And that type of energy is really draining, right? When you go into a space and then you have all these people who are all there just so that they can like get something from that situation, it ends up taking away from like, there's this like beautiful humanity of like, I guess there is humanity inside of like people like fiending as well. It's just a different energy. And it's like, I'm really loving the work that we're doing, because it's like as if people come out of it feeling recharged and inspired and excited and connected. And that like is really what a lot of my work is all about now, you know? So being able to create platforms where people are feeling as if they're coming out of it and they're like, oh, I just went and I like wrote a lot the other day. Oh, I ended up like feeling so inspired that like I connected with my friends and my family and told them about like how much I love art, and like just things like that that just like really make me feel just connected to the artistic experience again. That to me is like really valuable. And that's what I'm continuously working on, is to be able to find like ways in which I can help other people get to that point. So if anybody is ever watching these and they're feeling like, oh man, like I don't know how to like take those next steps to like feel more connected to my art, I'm feeling like really drained all the time, I don't have enough time to like create that kind of stuff, like I would love to be able to on both sides, I would love to be mentored on one side and to listen and learn from somebody who's been in the arts for a really long time, arts education, art therapy, all that kind of stuff. I'm always down to learn from people. On the other side as well, if anybody out there is feeling like they're really in that 9 to 5 and they're feeling like their artistic soul has been like drained, please let me know. Like I want to be able to like do whatever I can to support the people in this community, people who are connected to me. That's what it's all about, right? Like being able to like help each other out. And I'm feeling a lot stronger than I was at the beginning of this year, where yeah, I was still doing stuff, but I wasn't able to feel like I can complete my projects and that kind of stuff. Whereas now I'm feeling a lot more like connected, and I'm feeling like much more supported. I feel like I have a community of people behind me that are able to like help out and that kind of stuff. Even on Sunday, it's like so many people showed up. Like the free flow like whole crew is going to be there. I'm so excited about that. And like we're able to come together and put on a show for them. It's going to be between 4 to 5. It's going to be the free flow part. So it's gonna be really cool. And there's gonna be all these different artists that I haven't seen for a while. So now we get to like host a space for them and hold that. So that to me is like exciting and awesome. So so today it's gonna be a little bit more random. I actually recently I found the book where I wrote all the National Poetry Month stuff into from like my actual handwriting. So I wanted to actually read right from this. It's going to be interesting because I don't know which piece this is going to be. Yeah, so let's do this. Here we go. There you go. Oh, yes. The Wizard of Osmosis, Part 1. It's day 14 from National Poetry Month. So it is still National Poetry Month, but it's the handwritten part. I don't know if you guys, this is backwards for you guys, but it's pretty sweet. I get to actually like look at my own handwriting, see if I can read it. I have no idea. Sometimes I go back and I'm reading and I'm like, I have no idea. All right. The stage is my church, my sanctuary, the space to flow with purpose. My voice only the beginning, connecting to resonance, raison d'être, reason for being. I share stories to heal, whether myself or others, to entertain, relive, reimagine, reignite. Everyone makes their choices, each their own time. Full grown on or baby beginnings, I've been given the space to grow. It is not my place to stifle creativity. I express emotions and magical experiences to showcase the beauty of personal history. How we ended up in this exact moment in time. Fearful of comedy stage, writing humor for years, always envisioned the mic in hand, my gongong's passing of the torch. I collected myself, accepted mother's request. I professed my admiration, the strength to share. Inspiration it became as I graced the stage once more. Couple weeks later, first time I spoke jokes, provoked with that what I wrote. He gave me courage. Lion's mane, confidence gained, belief to stand up. continuing to follow the yellow brick road. 5 years pass. Still can't cope. Death of my hero, capturing the realities, writing poetry, penance to page, punishing guilt. I could have given more, believing, reliving, showing me, growing seed, happiness, literally. Translate to open heart in Cantonese, connecting me to emotions, flowing to arrive center of values. Be heart, cœur, tin man, adventures, traveling abound, exploring, imploring, expression selection, emotional progression, preaching for so long, but I must capture essence, diving deep, accepting parts of the sea are undiscovered, believe in our heart of cœurs. However far we go and is exactly where we need to be, continuing on this yellow brick road. Yeah, so that's dope. It's interesting. It actually connected, like usual, to some of the stuff that I was just talking about. Like, there's so much to unpack in this situation. Like the idea of like the stage being like my church, my sanctuary. It's like the way in which the form of what the stage is, like the preaching concept of it. And what I actually commented later on in here is the idea of preaching compared to actually like living in the essence of it. And that's what I want now more than ever. Is like previously I was always just telling everybody what to do and like that kind of stuff, but I'm working so hard behind the scenes too, having the conversations with my friends, you know, doing the therapy, writing a lot, like all the stuff that I feel, obviously I always feel like I can do more, but it is still like connecting me to something that's like, you know, greater and important, and being able to hold space for other people. It's like as if I'm going up and being the preacher sometimes, and I want to be able to set other people up to feel empowered enough that they too can be preaching and speaking in front of other people. And that's when we actually become part of that stage. So the idea of the raison d'etre, like the reason of being, like that goes back to the Dharma, the idea of like why it is that we're here on this earth. And each person supposedly has like their reasoning of why it is that they are here on this earth. And so for me to be able to be connecting to that and being a part of this, it means a lot to me, you know, like being able to take the time to see that this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and the work that I am doing is like helping progress not only myself but the people around me, and helping them acknowledge like their importance and building the boundaries that they need. And like it's kind of like the idea down the road I would love is if anybody's ever watched X-Men, like the idea of the actual like school that Professor X created. I forgot the name of it. I believe, actually, I'm just going to look it up. So Professor X's school, let's see what it's called. Yes, the School for the Gifted. Yes. So that's what it was. It's the Institute or the X Mansion that he had. So maybe one day, you know, like that's like the concept is like having a space where we can help those who have gone through trauma, who have gone through emotional like challenges, have mental health issues and things like that, but they're able to like really use that as their strength, you know. And that's the beauty of a lot of Marvel movies as well as like superhero movies. It's like what was their greatest weakness becomes their greatest strength, you know. Like the idea of Daredevil, like him being blind was like such a big part of like his origin story, and then but then his senses became heightened because he was blind in that way, and that was like so powerful to see. It's like what it is that seems like our weakness is actually our strength. And so the vulnerability is what actually helps us build towards like what it is and where we're supposed to be going. So that to me is like really special, very powerful. So I also speak about the story of how I ended up doing comedy for the first time. And it was through like my grandfather's passing. I ended up doing the eulogy at his funeral. And then I ended up actually, I've told the story on here as well, so I'm not going to go fully in the details of it, but it was really empowering to know that like when I stepped onto that stage, like my grandfather like was there. It felt like he was like there with me. Like the spotlight, when it hits me, it's like very like holy in that way, right? It's like from the sky, like, and it's like hits me, and it just like there's a light to it, you know, and it's as if he's like shining that upon me. And so that's something I'm very grateful for. But the idea too is that like I want to be able to make sure that I'm influencing children that I'm working with the same way that he inspired me, you know, having a male who is able to show their care for somebody and like be open with their like really believing in the kids and like really making sure that they know that like we actually believe and care about them, that to me is like extremely valuable. Letting them know that like their opinions matter, like they're seen. Like that's what I always felt with my grandparents. Like both my papa and gongong like made me feel as if I was seen, you know, like when I had an opinion of something, it's not dismissed because I was like a little kid or something, you know. It was like they would listen and they'd be like, oh, okay, like, you know, and they'd do their best or whatever. And one of the greatest things about my gongong was when he would cook for me, it was always the little things that he did. So I'll give you an example. He used to make me grilled cheese all the time, even though they would make these huge, like beautiful Chinese dinners, like fried rice and like, you know, egg rolls, all the beautiful stuff. But I was like a little kid, right? So I loved grilled cheese. That was my favorite. And then so he would always make grilled cheese, but so he would have like each slice of bread, and then he would put cheese on this, and then he would actually fry up ham as well. And but he wouldn't just put the ham on it and then close it, and then it was like a bit soggy or whatever. He would actually fry the ham so that when you bit into it, it felt like it was like a third piece of bread kind of thing, as if it was like kind of like a double stacked, like kind of a Big Mac-y kind of thing or whatever. And it was just so good. And I always think about that. And it was on the grill too, like where, you know, the breakfast grills that you had. So it was just like so nice. And just like those little things, like that's the stuff that I remember. It's the little intricate things that made him so special. The like little efforts, the time, like there's like million orders behind, and he's just like, no worries, I'm still gonna make you your grilled cheese just the way that you like it, you know. And him taking the time and the effort to like do that, that just means like everything to me, you know. And that's the type of stuff that I think about. I'm like, okay, how do I add the little bit of extra time or a little bit of extra effort, which is what is challenging sometimes. Even now, like when I was helping my mom move out all the beds and stuff like that, when I was getting frustrated, it's like, is it my patience that I'm needing to work on? Because I want to be able to give more than what is expected to a certain extent too. I don't want to just like get frustrated in that way. So it's like constantly working on myself in that way to like, because I had such like an amazing idol or like a mentor in terms of like my grandfather's lessons as a kid, that like I think that sometimes I get like frustrated that like I'm not like more patient, or like, you know, like I have this like impatience inside of me and I'm like, oh, I wish I was like more patient, you know. So it's constantly just working on that, being aware of that. I don't like the concept of like calling yourself out on it. That's not, it's something that I was actually shared this year, and it's the idea of it gets cheesy a bit, I would say, because there's the idea of like people be like, oh, it's not like a they're saying like don't use the word con, or don't use like the negative aspects of certain things or whatever, but like this is like not calling yourself out. It's like more calling yourself in, like having the conversation, like highlighting something that we can work on together. Like that's the same with like friends. If something's going on with a friend, it's like you don't want to be like, yo, you fucked up, you're the worst or whatever. It's like you don't want to shame them for that. You want to let them know and let them be aware that this is something that you experienced, that you weren't very happy about this, and that it affected you or the people around you in a certain way. And you want to be there for their growth. You know, you want everybody around each other to like get better. That's the whole concept of community, right? And building together. So that's one of the things that he always taught me, is like how to get like to that point, you know? So I also spoke about the idea of exploring, imploring, expression, selection, emotional progression. So the idea of exploration and then the expression and choosing what my expressions are, that's helping me evolve emotionally and progress emotionally. And that's something that I'm really grateful for, is the idea that I've had so many options, and at different times I've been able to use different mediums to be able to hit whatever emotion it is that I'm experiencing. So it was interesting because I came from the stand-up comedy background, and then somebody asked me, they're like, oh, what, do you have any funny poems? You know, Silva asked me that. They're like, do you have any funny poems? And I actually was like, I don't really have funny poems, because all my humor can go into my stand-up comedy, and then my poetry is like more emotional, and it's like more emotionally charged, and like the challenges that I have inside of that. So that to me was an interesting dialogue that we had about that, because it's like as if I'm able to put them into boxes in that way, but as time goes on, it's like I want them to flow into each other, and like I want my comedy to have more stories, and I want my stories to be able to have like emotional punches. And it's like the idea of why I created or helped create Free Flow in the first place was me and Daniel were talking about the idea of having a space where it's like the in-between was like what was celebrated. It's not the art form that is just being highlighted. It's like that conversation that you're having with the audience before you start playing your music or connecting in that way. So I also ran a show previously called The 13th Story, And I would say that that was probably one of my favorite concepts of a show. The concept was that people would share a story from their lives, and then they would, at the end, after their story is finished, because 13th story, if you look in buildings and stuff like that, if it has like 20, 25 stories or something like that, the 13th one usually doesn't exist, right? Because it's supposedly like bad luck, or it's like, but it's hidden. So that's what I wanted. I wanted people to share stories that they don't usually share. And then after it, they have the art piece that kind of like is paired with it, that goes along with it. And that to me is like special. Like, that's the stuff that I want to talk about more. I don't want to always talk about like, like everybody can like, put on a show and like, do that. But it's like, what if we can create spaces that people feel so comfortable that they can be themselves on stage? Like that to me is like so interesting and so exciting to me. And I look forward to that one day, to be able to do that live again. There's something so special about live creations, so and then, okay, this one as well, however far we go is exactly where we need to be. So the idea too is like, I have all these dreams and these concepts and these ideas of things that I want to finish by the end of my career or whatever. But it's like, it doesn't mean that all of those need to be completed for me to feel like I have a successful career. Like I'm continuously going to be working and building and growing, but like, it doesn't mean that I have to check all of these boxes off for like my life to actually have had meaning, or for me to have that. So for me, the process is a huge part of like the creation of all this stuff. Like people seeing that I am continuing and working in performance art still, I've had multiple people contact me and letting me know, they're like, wow, like it's great that you're still doing it after all these years. Like, and I think it also bears in with like, I haven't really like quote unquote made it. Like I haven't really made it in terms of, the gotten famous or things like that, but that's okay. Like not everybody's path is specifically to blow up and be huge. Like there's art in the in-between too, right? Like there's people who are going to be creating all the time, and it's not for specifically that. And anytime that I've commercialized my art as well too, a lot of times like it challenges my beliefs in the boxed in of what art can be, because the products that art is being sold as, like I find sometimes takes away from like the essence of why it was created in the first place. And that's why I love the idea of like sharing your journals, or I actually ran an event that was show and tell. And like show and tell is such a powerful concept of like creation. You're actually taking an item that like evokes such emotions, and you're being like brought back to that exact moment of when you created it. And then now you have that item in your hands, and like there's like this power and this strength and this intensity to it. I actually remember I brought an item to the workshop that I'm talking about, and everybody shared theirs, and I put it forward. And it was actually these two birds that I had received from like a partner of mine that we were together. And then we had just been seeing each other a little bit, but then like had like a bit of a falling out too, and it was like on the fritz of possibly breaking up, that kind of stuff. And then we had these two birds that were on these like this like piece of it was like glass, right? It was like ceramic, I believe, or no, it was not glass, it was ceramic, it was. And then so I was holding it and I was explaining what was going on in the relationship, and I was kind of flustering, kind of like I am right now. And then while I was putting it away, I dropped it, and then it split in half. And then so the two birds were actually separated at this time. And I like everybody there were like, did you mean to do that? Like, was that on like what? Like, and like that's the kind of stuff that I talk about, like in terms of the magic of the moment. Like the moment, what would be the most powerful way to showcase to them what was, and it wasn't even planned. I didn't do that on purpose, but it just happened. And then instead of me, like we were just about to go to break, and then that happened. So I was able to take the time to process it. And then after the break, they were like, some people were like, before we like move on to the next, like, can we please talk about like what happened right before? That was so intense, right? So that's the kind of stuff that happens, like when you put yourself in the position to like share openly and share like with your heart open in that way. Like things like this happen, and like it is important to take the time to like process what it was meaning. And like it definitely was a huge message for me to like really find space from this person and to actually have life away from them. And even when they came back together, they fit so beautifully, but like it should not be living as that. And that was like such a great message. So I was able to like take the time and step away from that situation to like feel as if that I wasn't being pulled in the negative way as well too, because it wasn't fair my partner at the time either. Like, that's not really fair either, to constantly be like pushing to try and shove these together and like glue it all together and do all that stuff. And there's all this like weight and this guilt of like something that they weren't wanting. So yeah, it was such a powerful way to look at it. And it just happened. And that's what I love about being able to share on stage, is like, if you truly are connected to the moment and you're actually present at that time, so much magic happens. You don't even know what's going to happen, right? Like the idea of like the unknown, right? So, okay, so let's go into that. So the last couple of days I've been sharing random poems, as well as I've also been sharing puns. And look at the one that first came out. I was just talking about X-Men, and check this out. Confucius say, while filming X-Men, Halle Berry got so mad she stormed out. Right? Like, I'm telling you, like, the randomness happens in this way. I was just talking about X-Men. The first one that came up was this. Like, that's crazy to me, right? Like, I can't believe that that's actually, I can't believe it though. I don't know why I say I can't believe it. It actually is just the way that it is, you know? You just end up believing this type of stuff, and then it actually happens. Okay, here we got another one. If Paul Bunyan was a beer, he would be a tall lager. Yeah, that's good. All right. The hero was brought in to defeat Sandwich was Superman. Okay, that one was terrible. Every day there's always one or two that I'm just like, oh God, what happened there? The cucumber knew he was in trouble because he was in a pickle jar. No. Oh man, there can't be three bad ones in a row. Okay. Confucius say, forgot to drink psychedelic alcohol, so absinthe-minded. So that was pretty good. That was good. That's like the idea too. It's like, you know that meme that's been happening? It's like, or the videos on TikTok or whatever. That's like, there's no, never seen two good-looking best friends or whatever. That's like my pun sometimes. Like some days it's like there's no two good ones in a row at all. This one's so bad. Oh my God. Okay. Confucius say, cuddle watching classic movies until you bend her over. Like bend her. Oh my God. That was like, why would I take the classic movie and put it there? Okay. Confucius say, quitting job at the razor company, shick it to the man. That's pretty good. It's pretty decent. Confucius say, diarrhea wears sneakers during the runs. Okay, that's a good last one, I think. Okay. No, I feel like I got it. This is the last one. Okay. Confucius say, Tissue's brother said, it's time for a nap, kin. Oh man, yeah, that's happening. That happened. So welcome back to the segment that Guy laughs at his own puns that he wrote a couple years ago, and is now reliving them. So yeah, there's a couple things though that before I get out of here, I do want to like make sure that I share about. But I was talking yesterday about while I was traveling and the experience of that, and what and I wanted to actually share the idea of nowadays. I don't get, obviously everybody's not getting the chance to travel. And one of the things that I've been noticing when I haven't been traveling as much is I keep thinking about the times that I was traveling and all the stories that came about from there and all the things. And yesterday I was actually talking about my travels to Hong Kong. And obviously there's a romanticization of romanticization. I'm going to take my time with this. Romanticization. I think that's the correct one. Of like the idea of going home to the motherland, you know, like, and I was having a conversation about this yesterday, and how like before I went back there, like I just had this image of like me going there and like being accepted by like all the Chinese people that were there, and then all the expats that were there, like welcomed me home, and like that kind of romanticizing. That's the one. Thank you. The struggle was real. The struggle was real there. I appreciate it. I was totally romanticizing the idea of like going back there, and the idea of like the in between. You know, like when I'm here, I'm like on one side, and then on the other side, I'm like, am I more Chinese? Am I more you know, Canadian? And like, so the idea of going back to Hong Kong was like, I needed to like fulfill this like feeling of presence. You know, I had to be like, I'm here. I am like both of these things and I'm owning both of them. But what ended up happening, especially in the beginning, was like I was not succeeding in either one. It was as if both sides were like, what is with this guy kind of thing. And that was something that was really hard to feel like comfortable in it. And it didn't feel like I had like a really strong base or anything, right? And I actually traveled with a partner, and you know, she was a Caucasian woman, and you know, being white in Hong Kong was like super weird as well. Like people would come up and like just like take pictures of her randomly, and then like they would like start practicing their English on her. Just being like, hello, how are you? It is nice to meet you. And then she's like, oh, hi, cool. It's like super uncomfortable. One time though, the really nice thing that happened, she ended up getting a note from a stranger, and then it was like this group of girls, and then they were all like giggling as if, you know, like you know how they show like Japanese girls in movies and stuff. They're like like that kind of thing. That's what was going on. They like slipped her a note, and it says, your eyes are so pretty. That's what it said. Or so beautiful, or whatever. And it was just like, she's like, oh, thank you so much, I really appreciate it, you know. And it was just like so like a sweet gesture. At the same time, it was also like super othering and being like super weird of that, right? And but it was interesting on my end. It was like I went there to do stand-up comedy, and like I got like, you know, some pretty sweet gigs because I had been doing comedy for about 8 years at the point. It was 2015 that I had been doing stand-up for. And going there, though, I definitely wanted to do some Cantonese comedy. That was so challenging. Okay, so it was like split completely in the middle, right? I did 3 sets. One of the sets was like pretty good. Like I went there, I like made some of the jokes. They liked it. It wasn't like I didn't get big laughs or whatever, but they didn't hate me, right? And then another one of them, I absolutely crushed it. I did so good. Like I was able to play that angle of like, oh, I don't speak English that well. I mean, I speak Cantonese that well, but it's okay. You don't speak English that well, but like, let's just have fun anyway. And like, really was kind of like, beep, 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 you know, like having such a good time with it. But the third time, I bombed so devastatingly, and I was lucky that it was like the order was like the bombing was like in the middle. So it was so that like in stand-up comedy, when you like fail hard, it's like you bombing really badly, right? So then right in the middle, that was so challenging. It was like I was looking out into my ants. That's what it felt like. And the ones who just like judge me, who are like, why are you growing out your hair? Why do you act this? You know, like the judgments that they have, like that's what it felt like. I felt like I was performing for family members who basically hate me. Like that's what it felt like, right? So it was such an interesting experience to like do it in Cantonese, and like I had to translate everything, and like I just like did like actually puns in Cantonese as well too, which was interesting because it's like I don't think that's a really strong form of like comedy that I saw anyways. When people were speaking in Cantonese, it was a lot of like situational, talked about family a lot. A lot of people did. It was very different like than doing stand up in English and stuff like that, right? So but yeah, that was one of the reasons why I wanted to go to Hong Kong. I was like, man, I gotta like try that. I don't know if I'll ever get the opportunity to do that again, right? So but living there, one of the best things that I found though was finding like these very like sweet shops that were there. They were like stalls more so. They weren't like even like you wouldn't even call them shops. They were like on the sides of like in this little like area that we were living in called Toon Moon. And you would go to them, and like I always found this one spot that had like amazing egg tarts. Oh, egg tarts, the dantat is like my favorite. And they had like the really nice like soap I think it's called, and it's like layers of the tart, and it's like, oh man, just biting into it. I remember I brought my friend there, and we bought a dozen egg tarts, and I was like, dude, I like the max I've ever eaten is like 2 of these, and he's like, that's because you've never had 12 of them. Shout out to Taylor. And then, so we just ate like so many. I think that he ended up eating like 7 of them, and I ate like 5 of them, or it might have been 8 and 4, but he ate way more than it. And he got after, he was like, my stomach hurts so much. And I was like, me too, but it was so worth it, you know? And it was such a like amazing to have him down there as well too. And I still remember like he like ended up meeting someone on Tinder, I think it was, and he ended up bringing her back to like our place and stuff. It was like so trippy, like the idea of like dating in Hong Kong in that way. And but yeah, it was like such a great experience. But at the same time, like I said, like so many moments of like questioning myself, like what's normal, what's not, like traveling, and especially when you're going back to like the motherland, like there is this like romanticizing. Thank you, Chrissy. I really appreciate that. It's just like really challenging to like not live in that, right? And that's one of the things, though. It's like these expectations versus like realities in that way. It's like important for us to like live that, right? And it's important for us to have those reality checks, because we have to continue to learn how to become grounded, right? Like the more that we live in our dream worlds and like that kind of stuff, and that's what we're committing our entire energy and our efforts to, it's not allowing us to, like I was talking about this yesterday, the idea of springboarding from where you truly are at this time. So that's one of the things that I'm excited about is after that trip, obviously, it helped me like reflect on like, okay, what is it that I truly want to do? What I realized is that I wanted to connect more to my culture, but I had to do it with other people who were at the same level as I was. And then I found a place called T-Base. I also started doing like conversation groups to do more Cantonese and that kind of stuff. But I also made sure that like I was also honoring my Canadian side, right? Like it's important to be able to see that like I am born Canadian, and it's totally cool that like I'm a Chinese Canadian person, like from Hong Kong. Like, well, I was born here, but like my family is born in Hong Kong, and being a first generation Canadian person from from immigrants in that way, like I think that that's so beautiful. Like that to me is not something that's been celebrated as much as I think it should be. Like the idea of like seeking something greater, and it's like my parents had a dream in their minds, and then they were able to fulfill that. And obviously, like it doesn't always come out the way that you want it to be. And I'm sure a person who's ever tried to make a living or is making a living doing art, you know what that's like. You know, there is a romanticizing of like your actual artistic connection. It's like, oh, I'm gonna like make my living doing this, and you see people who are doing this, but it's not everybody that gets to live their whole lives making money from this, right? So it's something that we always have to be accepting of, like where we're at this time, being real with ourselves, but also doing it in a really gentle and loving and caring way. Like that, if you think about it, the dreams of becoming a performer or an artist, like it comes from such a pure and beautiful place. Usually myself, it definitely was. It was like the idea of honoring my grandfather and doing it, everything in those little like intricate things that make it so very me. Like it's taken me so many years to get to this point that I can add these little touches that really have to do with myself, or really are about like connected to me as my truth, you know? So for me, I'm really wanting more of that, and to be able to be inside of it and where it, like honor where it came from in the beginning. That's everything. That's the whole, like, that's what it's all about to me. Art is always about that. And obviously there is that connection of like, how can you be able to make a living doing this as well? But that's like, sometimes you do have to make some big sacrifices in that. And it's like making sure that you're feeling balanced in it. You can't like allow yourself to get pulled into the commercialization of your art if it's taking away from like you being able to create the soulfully as well too. And I've seen many people who are able to actually have those separated, and we're doing amazing with it. You know, they do a lot of commercial art, and then they also are able to be artists and like be fulfilling in that way. And that's the goal, right? So that's something that I'm urging people to reflect on and to think about, especially if you're in the arts. Don't allow yourself to get pulled into where you're feeling as if you've lost that true essence of that beauty of why it is that you created in the first place. And a lot of that comes back down to our child selves, our inner childs. Like we just want to be seen. We want our art to be honored. We want our creations to be something that it's like it could go back to the base of like a kid like drawing a picture, and it's like showing it to your parents and being like, look what I made, you know? And it's like that to me, there's an element of that in all the arts that we're creating, especially performance art, especially comedy, especially poetry, like these stage performance arts. There really is this idea of like, okay, like I want to be able to showcase like my inner child to a certain extent. And then that's like the audience honoring that and connecting in that way. So for me, it's like constantly pushing myself in that way, but also accepting that like pushing myself isn't always the answer. You know, it's like finding that perfect balance within myself, and seeing all the art that I have made for other people, and like doing it commercially to try and make money from that. Like a lot of that comes back to like, you know, being an MC for weddings and stuff like that. It's like, that's not fulfilling my artistic side. You know, that's connecting me to my cultural side a lot, because I'm connecting with so many Chinese families. I remember some summers where I missed my family a lot, and I go to these weddings and I just felt like I was part of the families and stuff. So, but it wasn't fulfilling me artistically. So at the same time, my weddings, I was doing everything I can. And I don't know if I always did the best job of it, but I didn't want my weddings to take away from the possibility of me creating on my own time in that way. So that is extremely valuable and important for me to like make sure that I was doing, is that like I wasn't burning myself out doing so many weddings that I wasn't able to actually still write when I needed to, or share, doing some comedy and like all the things that made me feel connected to my true self in that way. So that's one of the most important things. That's I think from now on, every single of those these days, I'm really gonna like really focus on like one specific word, I guess, or one concept of this. And today, it really like one of the biggest things is like that essence, that essence, like the essence of what it is. It's like, what is it? So that like presence, is really very valuable to get to the essence as well, right? So like being able to be present and connecting to that helps you really connect to like why it is that like the actual, like when everything is out of it, where's that pure connection to what it is that you're creating, what it is that you're doing. That's like the most important thing to me. So I really appreciate you guys paying attention, being here with me. I love speaking about philosophy. I love speaking about the stage. I'm so grateful to be able to have a platform where I can like express all of this type of stuff. Sometimes I find it like it's just living in my brain and just wanting to be able to share this. So continuously being like here with you guys every single day has just been such like, it's an honor, like to be able to like have people who are coming back and connecting to this. So big shout out to Christia for coming out again. Really appreciate it. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. So I'll be here for day 9. This has been day 8 of Vlogmas 2020. And I'm really hyped about being able to share more tomorrow. So, all right, see you guys later.